Sam Darley here again, and now I'm going to break down the NFC West division draft needs. And I'm going to start with the Arizona Cardinals. Last year, the Cardinals had a bevy of injuries, specifically at the quarterback position. Carson Palmer got hurt, and he just signed a pretty big deal for a 30-year-old quarterback. Was it 32, 33? Or was it 35? I don't know, but he's getting up in age, and he just signed a pretty big deal. That could be catastrophic for the Cardinals. So, what do they need in the draft? They need offense. They'll absolutely need to find a way to play. Yeah, so they hired Dick LeBeau, I believe, as a defensive assistant or a special assistant to the head coach. Bruce Arians is a heck of a coach. Todd Bowles is a good defensive coordinator. They're going to need to find a way to continue to play good defense next year. Excuse me. The NFC West, I think, is going to be between the Rams and the Seahawks, to be honest with you. But maybe the Cardinals. The Cardinals didn't do much in this free agency. They lost quite a bit. They lost a pretty good defensive coordinator. I believe, some of that defense is getting old, isn't it? Didn't they lose like Larry Foote or somebody? They haven't done much. I know that. The quarterback situation's in limbo. Carson Palmer, like I said, he's 34, 35 years old. They signed a $50 million deal for 6 years? I don't think he has 6 good years in him. Lindley was not that good. I can't believe they didn't at least try Logan Thomas. They're not going to go get a quarterback in this draft. I don't see that happening. They need to stay healthy next year. They need to find a way to get Andre Allen to be an every down back, and if he's not an every down back, maybe they'll address that in the draft. They're kind of confusing to me because I don't know where they should go. I feel like their defense is pretty good. They're kind of like the Houston Texans. Their defense is pretty good. Their defense will probably carry them to a playoff berth. They need more help on the offense. They might need to think about finding a receiver. Outside of Larry Fitzgerald, I don't know if any one of those guys are number 1 or even number 2 options. John Brown can stretch the field. He can stretch the field for them, but who can step up and be at number 2, at number 3 guy? They might need to think about tight end as well. Bruce Arians runs a very potent offense. Like I said, he's a very good coach. Carson Palmer's health is really what's going to be the key for their team next year. To me, like I said, they're a confusing team. I think they need a lot of offensive help. Offensive line, wide receiver, they need a lot of help. For a playoff team, it's Lindley was not very good last year. I'm being a dead horse saying that, but their draft needs really mainly just offense, period. Everything. Offensive line, running back. Running back's probably the only position on the offense that I'm not so certain about because I think Allenton could be a really good player. But he needs to produce. He needs to stay healthy and produce and try to prove to the Cardinals that he's an every down back. He's got the talent. But for him, it's about being healthy. Like I said, Arians is a really good coach. It's a smart coach. They didn't do much in free agency. That's going to hurt them. You really, as an NFL team, you want to try and add a couple of players or two. You want to fill a team need or two, so you don't have as many needs on draft night as you did when you entered the off season. Because I feel like the Cardinals, a lot of the teams that haven't done much in free agency have entered the draft with more holes or more questions and answers, and I don't think they can answer every one of their problems in this draft or any in any draft period. You can't bank on kids coming in and producing immediately. Some kids take time. Some young players take time to properly develop. Like quarterbacks, like And you saw Trent Richardson. What was he, the last running back taken in the first round? And what a bust he turned out to be. You can't bank on young players having an immediate impact. And I mean, you don't want to spend big in free agency, but you want to spend it on a position of need, and you want to pick a guy that can fit your defense, that can come in, that you know can fit, that knows what you're doing, that's still young enough to produce at a high level. You don't want to just go out and sign aging talent like the Indianapolis Colts essentially did with Gore and Andre Johnson. You don't want to just grasp at straws. But like I said, in the Cardinals are very intriguing to me because I think if Carson Palmer was healthy, they could have gone to the Super Bowl. But then again, it's the Super Bowl host curse, I think. Every year, a team that's hosted the Super Bowl before last year didn't make the playoffs. And last year, the Cardinals broke that curse by making the playoffs. But they didn't go all the way. And the big reason why they didn't go all the way is because Carson Palmer got hurt. And they had a lot of other injuries, too. They had a lot of injuries on the defense. And last year they lost quite a bit on defense due to injury problems. So, them, it's all about being healthy, adding depth to their team. They got a lot more weaknesses than I actually thought. They got a lot of work to do on offense. And Bruce Arians cannot bank on Carson Palmer being a reliable quarterback for the next, 4 to 6 years he signed? Is it 4 to 6? It's one of those two. You can't bank on him coming off a major injury at 33, 34 years old. You can't bank on him being a franchise quarterback. You got to start thinking about the future. And maybe that's Logan Thomas. Maybe it's not. I know it's not Ryan Lindley unless he takes drastic steps forward in his progression, in his development as a quarterback this offseason. So there's a lot of the biggest needs. The Cardinals, like I said, they're like the Houston Texans. Their defense is fine. Their defense could probably carry them to the playoffs. But they've got to, unlike the Texans who only have to deal with the Colts in their division, the Cardinals have a lot on their plate. They have to deal with the two-time Super Bowl runner. Well, they won the Super Bowl, the Seattle Seahawks. They've been to the Super Bowl 2 straight times. And now they've got the improving and upcoming Rams on their back. So the Niners are done. The Niners are not much of a threat. So the Cardinals really have a lot more. They have to worry about those two teams, and they have to worry about a pretty loaded NFC. That's a pretty tough conference. And like I said, they've got a lot more weaknesses on the offensive side of the ball. There's a lot of question marks with them. I don't know if they can answer them all in this draft. I know they didn't do much of free agency. But they can be a good team next year. They can probably, if they stuck with what they got, they're probably a 7-9, 8-8 team right now. To me, it seems like it always comes down to the quarterback, how the quarterback plays and how healthy the quarterback is. But yeah, they need offensive line. But they need, when I'm thinking Carson Palmer's health, I'm thinking offensive line. Receiver, just offense, period. You gotta fix it. You gotta continue to improve it. You've gotta find, if you're Bruce Arians, you gotta find a way to continue to make this Arizona team a potent threat in the NFC. Tell me what you think they need. Like I said, they're intriguing, but they're also kind of confusing at the same time. This has been Sam Darley covering the Arizona Cardinals draft needs. Thanks for watching.